and just stays right by our deceased, sitting and reading from the Bible, studying, but making certain our loved one is not alone, because it is so important in our tradition that we not only focus on our own needs, but primary until the time of burial is what we call in Hebrew kavod hamet, which means showing full honor and dignity to the dead. We believe that you do that in many ways, but one way is to not leave that body unattended. Now you have to ask the funeral home to arrange for a shomer, and they'll do it. It's not a problem. And that shomer will stay there day and night until the time of the funeral. And your loved one will not be alone. What else? What else happens once we learn of the death of a loved one and we begin the preparations for the funeral? Well, we have to concern ourselves with, unfortunately, the preparation of our loved one for burial. There is a very holy process in the Jewish tradition. We call it tahara, which means the ritual purification of the body. Again, you ask the funeral director, you say you want your loved one to be prepared ritually for burial with tahara. And the Chevra Kadisha, which is the sacred society, comes in to do that. They respectfully and with great sanctity and great reverence, they wash the body. They make certain that the body has been purified. They say the prayers that are said during the purification, during the tahara. And then they place the body in a shroud. I want you to appreciate something very, very special. The tahara for a man is done by men. Not the men who work in the funeral chapel, but the Chevra Kadisha. And the tahara for a woman is done by Jewish women. The idea being that a woman who has lived with a sense of modesty for her whole life should be prepared for burial by women and not by men. I think you'll agree that that makes not just absolute sense, but in and of itself is a beautiful, beautiful concept. Now I know, believe me, I know the directors at the funeral homes, they're good guys, they're nice guys. But we have a tradition that says that a Jewish body should be prepared for burial by Jews. A Jewish man by Jewish men, a Jewish woman by Jewish women. And it should be prepared with reverence and sanctity and the greatest, greatest respect that we would want. We would absolutely want for our loved ones. And then the body is placed in the shroud. I say a shroud and not clothing. Years ago when I first came here, it was understood by almost everyone that when a Jew was buried, it was in a shroud. It's a linen garment or a cotton garment, no pockets, plain, white, because it symbolizes purity. It symbolizes that death is different than life. That when someone is brought to the cemetery to be buried, that is different, absolutely different than the way in which that person lived. And therefore the dress from life to death by Jewish tradition has to be different. Not only that, but there was a great rabbi, Rabbi Gamliel, who said that in death there needs to be absolute equality. People should not be buried in different kinds of suits or dresses, one expensive, one not so expensive. Death is the great equalizer. Everyone is the same in death. And so the tradition is a shroud, a plain white shroud, which is our dress for eternity. One final point in this session. I think everybody knows that the body is placed in a kosher casket. What's a kosher casket? All wood. No nails, no metal, no nothing. All wood. The idea, of course, being, again, partially the democracy of it all, that everyone should be buried in a similar sort of casket. And also because we face the finality that death represents, understanding, as it says in the Bible, that we go from dust to dust. Hard it is for us to embrace that and to feel comfortable with it, but that is the way of the world. And so we place our loved ones in a kosher casket where they will be for eternity. My friends, people have often asked me about viewing the body. And the Jewish tradition is clear. The body is not meant to be viewed. One of my very well-respected colleagues says, he writes the following: a person's last right should be the right of utter privacy. You know, our whole life we live on display. Everyone looks at us, how we dress, how we look, how is our hair, how's our makeup. Comes to death, that's got to stop. That should stop by Jewish tradition. And so viewing of the body is something that the Jewish tradition absolutely shuns, because of what I said at the very beginning, kavod hamet, honor and respect to the dead. The greatest dignity that we can give to our loved ones is the dignity to no longer be on display. We should remember them as they were in the fullness of their lives. We should remember them as they lived, when their body and spirit were fully intact, and not when just the body remained. So that's the first class on the laws of mourning, on the Jewish way in mourning. There's much more to teach, and I'll be with you from time to time sharing this with you. If you have any comments, please send them my way, and again, I thank you for all your support and friendship. Until next time, shalom.